Hello and welcome to Better Than Mario Brothers, a podcast where each episode we dive into cinema's sewer. I am Chris Bolton. With me, as always, my partner in podcasting, Mr. Mark Williams.
Hello.
And we're kicking off 2020 with just one of the worst films ever made, by popular opinion.
Can I just stop you there? It's 2021.
Yeah. What did I say?
We're kicking off 2020.
Did I say 2020? I don't know what fucking day it is, let alone what year it is. I mean, that was only the intro. We could go back and re-record it.
Yeah, fuck it.
But we won't, because life's too fucking short.
Absolutely.
Okay, yeah, so we're kicking off 2021 with a look back at, by popular opinion, one of the worst films ever made. George Lucas's, well, he didn't direct it, but George Lucas produced it anyway.
Yeah, he gets a lot of the blame for it.
1986 disaster piece, Howard the Duck, or Howard, A New Breed of Hero. I'm not really sure which is the correct title. I think here, Howard, A New Breed of Hero.
Yeah, here it's sold as Howard the Duck, because I inadvertently bought it yesterday. I was supposed to rent it.
Oh, ouch.
Why did you? Because it was about 11 o'clock at night and I was knackered and I pressed the wrong button. So, yeah, when that came through, I thought, oh, shit, right, I can't undo that. So, yeah, so I inadvertently purchased that yesterday. So it's sold here as Howard the Duck. But yeah, when you look at IMDb and you Google it, it comes up as Howard, New Breed of Hero. So I'm assuming that was the American title.
I think the actual title is Howard, A New Breed of Hero, but most people call it Howard the Duck because in the same way that you get, say, I don't know, fucking Thor Ragnarok, you've got Thor in big letters because it's a Thor film, but the title of the film is Ragnarok. It's not Thor Ragnarok. So the title of the film is Howard, A New Breed of Hero, but whenever you look at a poster or the front of it, it's got Howard the Duck in big letters, and there's only been one. So it's just Howard the Duck, the film, isn't it? I mean, if they're going to be like this, thank God there's only one. But, you know, well, I'd be up for more Howard the Duck films, especially now, like, with the way the MCU are doing it. And it's Seth as well in the MCU, isn't it? So I'd be up for more of it. Just not like this. So
there were bits of this. I mean, we'll get into it. I mean, there are bits of this which did still make me laugh. When I first saw this when I was in uni, somebody had a bookie copy of it on VHS. So I've seen this quite a few times. And there's still bits that make me chuckle now, even though I know what's coming. So it's not. And we've watched worse things. Let's put it that way.
I don't know. We probably have, but not much. So not to bury the lead from my thoughts on this one. Then. This is interesting as well because you come to it from a totally different place to me then, because I saw this as a very young child. It came out 86. I guess I must have seen it round about 88, 89. I was definitely very, very young, about 7 or 8. As I've said on the podcast before, Dad didn't really give a shit. Let me watch whatever I wanted. So, and I also think, you know, Howard the Duck, they probably figured, like, it's a puppet, it's a comedy thing. So, fine, watch Howard the Duck. Little did they know of all of the gruesome shit that I watched as a kid. And I'm talking, you know, they'd let me watch RoboCop, Predator, Terminator, all of that, absolutely fine. Howard the Duck scared the living shit out of me as a kid.
See that. I can see how that would happen.
Absolutely, and it's weird because see, I have a weird memory associated with this film. So I haven't watched it as an adult, not because it scared me as a kid. I haven't. I've felt no desire to go back and watch Howard the Duck. So this is the first time I've seen this film in probably 25, maybe 30 years, right? Maybe I've seen bits of it here and there, or it's been on, and I've gone, cool, Howard the Duck, and then I've not bothered. I think I've only actually seen it all the way through, maybe 3 or 4 times, but I've seen the first hour or so of the film about 9 or 10 times, because as a kid, kids are stupid. Okay, we've had this discussion on the podcast before. I didn't realize that this was a bad film. I just like what I like, and I fucking love puppets. We've had this discussion plenty of times. All right, so we've got presumably a midget running around in a puppet costume here. Yeah. Is that the correct term? Well, I've been put on that before. Little person running around. Apologies to all the midgets out there.
It's normally me.
Apologies to all the little people out there. You know I jest. So you've got a little person running around. You've got a sort of animatronic face. There's a lot of puppetry going on. So ticks all of the boxes for me. I mean, there's tits, there's all sorts of stuff that the kids are going to find kind of amusing. And then at the hour mark, the Dark Lord shows up, and I just, as a kid, the diner scene terrified me. Now, I have this, and I'm going way back, so this memory is probably quite vague. I am pretty sure we had a VHS tape, and I'm when I say pretty sure, I'm 95% certain. We had a VHS tape where my dad had, because we were able to, copy things. Where my dad had copied like the first hour of the film on this tape and cut it off at the diner scene. And then that was the end of Howard the Duck. And there was something. Now, I was not stupid enough to fall for it, but I knew that back half scared me. So I was just like, yeah, okay, fine. So I would just watch the first half of Howard the Duck. And then, which watching it now does kind of work, because it becomes a completely different film at the hour mark. Anyway, that's the better film than the one I watched. But as a kid, absolutely terrified me. The second Jeffrey Jones's eyes start glowing, freaked me the fuck out. But we'll get into that, I guess, when we get to that scene. So there's my potted history of Howard the Duck.
I don't remember seeing it as a kid. It's probably not the sort of thing I would have seen. My dad always worked shifts and wasn't really around that much. So my mum used to be quite strict on what we watched, to a point where we used to go and visit her parents, and my aunt lived in the same street. So if we went up to see my cousins, my mum would literally follow us up the road 2 minutes later just to make sure we weren't watching anything with them, because they were that much older and that much less controlled. And I think there was one time he came up and we were watching fucking Hellraiser or something like that. So there were words had then. But yeah, so I mean, it was always one of those that I don't even know if I would have been aware of it at the time. But even if I was, I certainly wouldn't have seen it.
Yeah, I mean, I was definitely very excited to watch it as well. I know that much. Again, puppets. It's always been a thing for me, always. And that reminds me, we should really look at Garbage Pail Kids on this podcast as well. We'll put it on our list if it's not already. But yeah, so I watched it quite early on, and I remember all of the tertiary stuff around it as well. Like, even before looking at it, I rented it on Amazon. I didn't buy it because I knew I just, somewhere in the deep recesses of mind, even not having watched it for a while, I knew it wasn't going to be something I'm going to want to own.
Don't get me wrong, I didn't intend to buy it.
No, so I knew even before looking at it what that poster looked like. I could picture it. I could picture the writing. That poster is fucking weird, which is why I remember it.
It is. But I mean, I was talking to somebody about this today, somebody at work, and it is quite interesting actually the way they set out the font on the screen when you were doing the opening credits using the Indiana Jones cards and stuff like that. I thought that was quite a nice touch.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's loads of
little things like that. I thought there were some really nice subtle touches. They were massively overshadowed by the rest of the film.
I mean, that's kind of one of the advantages you have of having George Lucas producing, is you've got the open book on Lucasfilm. So you want to riff on Indiana Jones, go for it. Basically, at this point, you want to rip on anything in popular cinema if you're in the mid-'80s and you've got George Lucas involved. Exactly. If it's not his property, he's buds with whoever's property it is. So it's fine. You want some Spielberg stuff? Fine. You want some Scorsese stuff? Fine. Do whatever you want. They're all in a big fucking club together at this point, so they can do whatever they want. But yeah, that poster is just like it's a fucking egg in space with a beak coming out of it, and it kind of almost riffs on the Alien poster, which has nothing to do with anything. And then you've got the Raiders of the Lost Ark logo, and it's just so fucking weird. It's almost selling itself as a spoof. It's definitely selling itself as a comedy on the poster, even though it's called Howard, a New Breed of Hero. Just weird. And at this point, we didn't have the kind of comic book saturation that we have now either. So 90% of the audience wouldn't be aware that it's based on a comic book.
No.
Which is probably just as well, because it's fucking nothing like the comic. Or strip more than book, to be honest.
But I've never read any of it. I've got to be honest. I've never read any Howard the Duck.
I'm not really well versed in Howard the Duck. I do know a little of the character. I can't say I've ever read anything specific, but I do know a little of it, and I know that it's quite meta. It's a lot of commentary on actual society and stuff as well, which they kind of try and do. in the early half of this film, but they do it very bad and then just forget about it.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, I will say though, I mean the diner scene whereby they and we'll get to it probably later, but where they try and lynch him, it's like that's very America at the moment.
yeah, very
40 years later.
Yeah, I mean, I watched this last week, the day after everything was going on in the Capitol. So to put a date stamp on this recording and the time I watched this, I was watching it just as stuff was still unfolding, really. But yeah, so that was my first note. Actually, was before I even put this on, I picked my book up. I've written Howard the Duck for a title, and straight underneath, I can picture the poster. I will never forget this poster. Yeah. So, okay. The director is William Huck. I believe it's pronounced Huck.
Something like that.
Never did any other single thing of note after this. It's just buried him.
Well, I mean, if you look at the team behind it, so you've got Lucas producing it, and then you've got he directed, and I can't remember the name of the producer, but the producer and the director co-wrote it.
Yeah, now I've got a feeling, and my knowledge might be sketchy on this, so IMDb it out there, listeners, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. You can write in and call me an idiot if you want. I've got a feeling William Huck wrote Temple of Doom, or was at least co-credited as a writer on Temple of Doom.
Right.
I wouldn't 100% swear by it, but in the dark recesses of my brain, I'm pretty sure he did.
I don't know. I may have to look that one up.
Which, also in that case wrote the second worst Indiana Jones film. So, depending on who you ask, it might even be the worst Indiana Jones film, but that's a conversation for another recording. I fucking hate Temple of Doom. Well, I know I hate it. It's still an Indiana Jones film. It's just
I was going to say
no, it's not a fucking Indiana Jones. Look, don't get me started. Don't get me started. This isn't an Indiana Jones podcast. Don't get me started. Okay.
Yeah, Gloria Katz was the producer.
Gloria Katz was the producer. Yeah. And Lucas. And this was really Lucas's first, I guess, big taste of failure. Obviously, in fact, it's really his only massive failure, I think, because even the Star Wars prequels, like, I know people have their opinion on them. Yeah, exactly. Like, whereas this thing just completely fell off the face of the earth.
Yeah.
And okay, so we'll dive into them. So we've talked about our history with it, and we've talked about the production team behind it. But to get into the film itself, like the opening, I've got to be fair. I fucking think the opening was excellent. I was watching the opening. I was like, okay, I'm up for this. Like they really go for it in the opening. They kind of, there's ducks every fucking way. There are like, they don't hold back. This isn't like, oh, we've got one puppet. There are ducks every fucking way.
Well, even the first couple of shots where he's letting himself into the apartment, and you get you don't have the reveal straight away. So you get the shoes, you get the hands and shit. So you don't. They build you into it quite nicely, and it's quite atmospheric. And you've got the posters, the breeder's lost egg, and the other poster. I can't remember what it is, but it's W.C. Fields parodies. W.C. Fowles is the name on the poster.
Yeah.
So all that they set up this world quite nicely without you having to see the fucking duck. And they did a really good job of it.
And even the character information there as well. Like you said, they show you around the apartment, and they kind of almost seem to be, and they don't follow this through in the film at all. This isn't a thing that Howard does or is, but they kind of almost seem to be setting up this kind of gumshoe vibe. It feels like to me, like he's going, he's there with his collar loosened when you eventually reveal him, and he slumps back in the chair with a drink, and his apartment's a tip, and it's got a kind of gumshoe kind of feeling to it. Now that's not something that carries all the way through the film at all, but that's definitely it's quite a successful setup for that. And then it just gets fucking weird immediately with his chair just getting sucked through the fucking and we have to talk about the duck tits. I don't remember that as a kid. I don't know how I don't remember that, but there is a duck in the bath with her tits out in the opening
with a hand strategically placed as well.
Yeah, like
and that's after we've had Play Duck. Don't forget.
Yeah, I mean Play Duck. I remember. I specifically remember Play Duck because I found that really funny. Yeah, but I do not remember the duck with her tits out.
Yeah, but I mean, and listen, we're talking about the world, and you've got stuff like the you've got him chucking the bills on the table. You've got the voicemail messages and shit like that. You've got them. So you get all that, and then you get his chair get sucked back through the wall. Which I was watching it thinking I knew he came from an alternate version of Earth to Earth via a big fucking laser beam. At that point I'd forgotten the chair. What the fuck is this bit? So right, okay, that was fine. And then he gets dragged through the wall, and you've got the old couple in bed.
Yeah.
And then you've got the chick in the bath, and then you've got another one, and then he flies through the wall.
No. You got the duck in the bath.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Sorry. You set him up, I'll knock him down.
You're going to be one of those. But yeah, so then he flies through the wall and gets sucked up into outer space. That's all fine. That works really well. And then they say, it's like, oh, okay, you've done that bit now. And the tone of it just completely changes at that point.
Completely. So then he gets dropped onto Earth. Now, we do find out later on what's happened with the chair, but they don't really try and set any sort of mystery up with this whatsoever. It's just like, okay, so he was sat in his chair and then he flew to Earth in his chair. And that's the explanation you get for the first kind of 20 odd minutes of the film. It's not even like he's running around going, but why my chair?
Yeah.
Why
not the building?
Yeah.
Why not everybody who was between me and that fucking Ray?
Yeah. So that's a bit fucking weird. But more weird than that, like there are plenty. Look, we call out, or you normally call out logic discrepancies in this show quite a lot. Yeah, I mean, I tend to call out narrative discrepancies, but first, like the very first one, immediately, like he gets brought down to Earth, and there's like this gang of punks essentially that come onto him, and you can understand that because he's a fucking, and they think he's probably a kid in a costume or something like that. I can understand them picking on him, but why the fuck do they decide to take him into the club?
Well, yeah.
What purpose do they do that?
It doesn't make any sense because I mean they sort of shove him into a nerdy looking bloke because he's tall, gangly, has glasses, therefore he must be a nerd and there to be picked on because it's the 80s. Fuck you, 80s. So they do that. He gets shoved into the club. A bouncer immediately picks him up and chucks him out the back. I was like, hang on, what the fuck? Well, there's no point in any of that. There's no need for any of it. It doesn't do anything.
No, and that's a recurring theme throughout this film. There isn't a lot of point in anything. So we get this nonsense in the club, and then when things start to turn nasty, we get like Howard turns to camera, breaks the fourth wall, and delivers "No more Mr. Nice Duck."
Yeah,
which is the point where I just went, "Oh no!"
Yeah,
like nothing wrong with the line, nothing wrong with the way the scene is going, other than the narrative issue. The problem for me was just that I think had he broken the fourth wall very early on.
Yeah.
Like, had we had a Gumshoe voiceover, for instance, over the opening, or had he addressed camera when the chair was being sucked through the wall or something like that, had we established that this was going to be a narrative device, then it'll work for a gag like this.
Yeah.
But it just pull it straight out of the bag here. But just feels weird.
And now, this was my problem with it as well, is that it feels weird and they didn't need to do it. No. He could have been talking to himself or talking to the people who aren't listening to him. He didn't need to turn to camera and say, "Oh, no more, this is nice stuff." And it happens again and again and again. And you think, well, what are you trying to do with that? Okay, if they do it in the comic, that's fine. But it needs to be a consistent device.
This is a thing.
If you look at Deadpool, the way they do it,
it's
very much constant from the start right the way through the two films.
But that is because Deadpool's narrated by Deadpool. Yeah, that's the thing.
That's it. Whereas here, they kind of go, "Oh, yeah, we don't know how to get from point A to point C. I know, let's go via point Z. And we'll just turn over here and do it that way." There's no need for it.
If this was narrated by Howard from the start, that would work.
Yeah.
But it isn't, so it doesn't. Having said all of that, and this is the annoying bit, okay, because if they'd have just dropped that, I think the quack foo stuff is excellent. And like, there are parts of this film, don't get me wrong, it is bad, okay? Oh, I think it is. But I also think it's not as bad as people say it is. And I think there are parts of this film, this is a horribly arsey thing to say, but there are parts of this film that the world just wasn't ready for. And I think it was just a little bit before its time. I think something like Quack Fu would totally fly today now. If all of a sudden Howard the Duck shows up again in the MCU and there's a Quack Fu sequence, which is a thing, Quack Fu is a thing that he does in the comics, okay? Like, everybody'd go fucking nuts over it. They'd lose their fucking minds. It's just at this point, we weren't. I mean, this is a very minor tertiary comics character.
Yeah.
Okay, in what is at this point an industry that is on its arse. Nobody gives a shit about comics at this point in time.
Yeah.
Marvel, especially, is really on the fucking skids. So who gives a fuck? And I just think, yeah, the 80s wasn't the time for quack food.
And the thing is, I mean, it's not that far removed. I mean, this was 86. When was Darkwing Duck? That was a very early 90s, wasn't it?
Yeah, I guess.
And that had a
too, yeah.
Yeah, and the kind of a similar vibe to that. With some of the more family friendly humor, some of the fighting and stuff like that. That has a very similar feel to it.
Yeah.
And you think, well, hang on, it's not that far removed, but people remember Darkwing Duck a lot more fondly than Howard the Duck.
I think there is a good film in here, and I think it's things like that. I think tonally, if it wasn't so fucking weird, if they could just decide what this is, and whether, we'll never know. And I don't think there's been too much written about it either because it bombed. Whether the intent was there in the script for it to be something completely different and perhaps be closer to the comic and to have this kind of fourth wall break in and this societal comment and stuff like that, and then studio involvement just said, "What the fuck is that?" Because again, 80s, okay, they're not ready for Deadpool.
Yeah.
What the fuck is that? We can't sell it. Give us duck tits. Who knows?
I don't know. I think if that is the case, that would be a real shame. Because I think you're right. I think there is a far better film in here than we got.
There absolutely is. Absolutely. I enjoy the quack fu sequence. I think it's really good. And actually, still this opening, aside from that issue with the punks making no sense taking him to the club, even, okay, we have a bit of nonsense then with them escaping the club as well. But then we get like the first real conversation between Howard and Beverly. Yeah, Beverly.
Yeah, the most punk rock name ever.
Yeah, and
that's what I don't get, right? One of the things I don't get. They're in this punk club. It's a really fucking rowdy club where the stage is behind a cage, so you can't fucking throw bottles and shit. What fucking music are they playing? Because it ain't fucking punk.
It ain't punk, is it? No, it ain't. No.
And when you go back there later on, it's like a fucking power ballad. It's like, hang on, what?
Yeah, I do actually quite like the music though.
I have no problem with the music, and it doesn't fit the aesthetic. It doesn't fit the look.
For the record, the closing credits are the best 2 minutes of the entire film, and that song has gone round and round in my head all week. I've just been walking around going, "Howard the Duck" all fucking week. Yeah.
Same here. I watched it last night, and I've had that going round in circles. I don't sleep much anyway, but when I went to bed last night at about 1 o'clock, that was just doing a fucking lap.
And just the puppetry in it is excellent as well. He's playing the guitar. They're riffing on Back to the Future, which, of course, of course you're going to do that. Excellent. Really good. Anyway, so we'll get to that when we get there. We get the Howard and Beverly conversation even, which, we talk about this on Game of Moans a lot. There is a lot of heavy lifting to be done in this conversation. There is a lot of exposition, especially bearing in mind that most of the audience don't know who this character is. There's a lot of like, who are you? Who is this? Where have you come from? Why are you here? What is your mission? What do you need? There is just this huge exposition bomb, which actually the two of them handle really fucking deftly. And it is very, very good. They get through a lot of shit very quickly. I mean, it's not slick. They are literally having an expository conversation of why are you a talking duck? And his answer is like, I don't know. Where am I? I'm on Earth. Why am I here? I don't know. Who are you? I'm Beverly. I play in a band. Let's be friends. Let's go and sort this out. It is literally that, but it takes all of 3.5, 4 minutes.
Well, yeah, because you get the fight where she's fighting off would-be muggers or rapists or whatever with the player, and then he comes out of the bin. So at this point, he's hiding in the bin because he's terrified. He's being attacked by the punks and the bikers and everybody else. So he's hiding in the bin. And at this point, I said, we know fuck all about him.
Yeah.
So the fact he then ducks up, because he's not a man, he's a duck. He comes out and he's like, leave the girl alone, and he launches into the quack fu and he kicks the fuck out of him. That's all really good.
Yeah.
And then you get the really the heavy lifting between the two of them. But then there's a really nice moment where she's like, oh well, I'm going to go, and she walks off, and so she's looking back at him. He's standing there in the rain, and then he sort of slowly retreats back under this makeshift shelter, so into the bins and into all this other shit where he was hiding, and she just sort of glides backwards.
Yeah.
And it's a really nice shot, and it's just really, it's nice and slow, nice and patient, and she gets this very sweet smile and just gives him a nod, and off they go. I mean, and it's lovely.
I've got to be fair. The chemistry between the two of them
Yeah.
is really, you know, we talked on Happy Time Murders about how Melissa McCarthy just doesn't know how to be around the puppets seemingly in that film,
Yeah.
which is weird because, you know, you think she would know how to work with Muppets, but like Leah Thompson, it just is great opposite Howard. Like,
Yes.
and the chemistry between the two of them. All right, the rest of the cast and her interacting with the
I was
rest of
going
the
to say
cast
she
in
shoot
some
with everybody
instances
else.
as well.
Really.
Yeah, it's pretty. But when you get the two of them together,
Yeah.
like this scene, but this first scene between the two of them in her apartment is quite tender. It's really nice. Like they form a very quick connection, which is maybe a little bit of a stretch, but hey, we've got 2 hours to tell about 10 fucking stories.
And to be
So
fair, it is a fucking 2 hour movie as well. It's a long film.
yeah, well, it is a long film. That's because it's about 10 fucking films in
Yeah.
one.
But yeah, I mean, you're right. The bond between them is very good. It does form very quickly, and okay, you kind of go along with that.
Go with it.
I mean, there's a nice moment in the apartment where the chair starts shaking again, and he freaks
and
out.
he gets freaks out. Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, they've worked on that. They've gone right. Okay, we can build on that. But then again, that's the end of it. It doesn't fucking come up again.
No,
And
so
there are too many drops like that. We think, okay, no, that's going to be a thing. Loud noises, anything, any heavy vibrations, anything that's going to that could freak him out because he's on an alien planet. He doesn't know what the fuck anything is. So of course it's going to scare him.
this is where you realize how slick the MCU is, and even the DCEU now as well. You know, where these little character flaws would become very important come the end of Act Two, whereas here they're not at all. And actually, all of the setup is going in. This is the weird thing about this film. And we'll again, as we go through, we'll talk about the reasons why. But I kind of feel like the first 20 minutes and the last half an hour, 45 minutes, are fucking great. But then all of the middle is just this fucking mess.
It's a mess of filler is the problem.
Yeah, exactly. So we get this conversation, we get all that nice stuff set up, and then the 80s. It just so happens that she knows somebody who can help because her friend Phil is a scientist.
Before that, there was a point. So they have the conversation, and he falls asleep in the apartment, doesn't he? And she's going through his wallet. I get some nice touches with his driving license and the photos and all that sort of stuff. That's all really nice. And then she pulls a condom out, and she has a little bit of titter.
Yeah.
Right
Ew,
now,
Howard. Yeah. Okay. So, you're going to the same place that I went. Go on. You take it.
So he's an anthropomorphic duck, right?
Yeah.
Does he still have a corkscrew duck penis?
This is the thing because
if he does, that fucking condom's not going to work.
We've discussed this at length numerous times, I know, but I am fascinated with duck penises. They have these corkscrew penises that shoot out as they fly overhead to fuck the lady ducks, and they're just these massive long corkscrews. Now, yeah, that is a regular condom.
Yes, so, and not in a wrapper either.
No, I mean this. You know, I have that question later on when we have the scene between the two of them as well, which is all kinds of you. But all that's running through my head is, but hang on, how does that work? He's got a corkscrew dick. Like, I don't know. They don't answer that. I mean, but in the same way, like actual lady ducks don't have tits, do they? Whereas the lady ducks in this have actual tits.
And ducks have wings and fly, so you know.
Yeah, so who fucking knows, right?
Yeah. But yeah, that was the thing that, I mean, it jumped out straight away, and I'm thinking, hang on, why do I even need to think about duck dicks?
Because we talk about duck penises far too often. It's just something that we have discussed at length for some reason. I don't know why, numerous times.
Yeah.
Probably my fault.
So this time it's fine.
So we get all this exposition, and then Phil is a scientist because that's a job. Didn't you know? You do science. You are a scientist.
Yeah.
You're not a biologist or a chemist or.
Well, to be fair, he wasn't, was he?
No, but he is just.
You see, somebody read New Scientist once and went, I know I'm going to be a scientist.
But that is just such an 80s move. Like, that is because science was new and exciting, and we were on the verge of massive breakthroughs. So a scientist was a voice of authority in the 80s.
Well, it reminded me, I don't know why, and I haven't seen it for years, but it reminded me of Short Circuit because, again, everybody, because it was the 80s, so fucking robots were a thing. So they wanted somebody who knew about robotics.
Yeah, it's it. It's like now it would be far more specific than that. It would be, well, I have a friend who's an expert in extraterrestrial avian species, so let's go. Yeah. It would be that specific now.
Yeah.
But in the 80s, no. Phil is a scientist. He does sciencing, and he can help. So, they go and see Phil. Now, this is the point. I didn't call the first one out, actually, but I should have. Way back in the first opening sequence where they're fucking around in the alley, the first real misstep for me with the humor is the Donald Duck impression that he does.
Yes.
And then we get a second one here. We get 2 Donald Duck impersonations inside of 20 minutes, and then they vanish. Now, I do know the Disney in me knows that they got into a lot of hot water with Disney over this film, just because of the fact that he looks a bit like Donald Duck, essentially, because he's a fucking duck.
He's a duck.
Um,
He's a talking duck, you know. There's only so far you can go with it. It's different.
So they're chancing it a bit with these. They are pushing it with these Donald references. So they did 2 and then left it there. They'd have been better off pulling a Daisy reference with the slutty duck in the bath, to be honest, because we all know she's a tramp. Anyway, so we get to meet Science Guy, Phil the Science Guy, and it's Tim Robbins, who is giving possibly the worst performance of his entire career.
Quite possibly, yeah.
He is just, he's not just pitching for the stores. Like, I think he wants to hit the ball back to Howard's fucking home planet.
Well, the thing, the thing I don't, obviously, I wasn't around at the time. I was very young when this was made, so I have very little reference, but it seems like an odd choice of an odd casting choice for Tim Robbins.
Really weird, but I mean, it was early days, so.
But I mean, if you look at sort of, given the size of the role as well, it was probably a money issue. But you look at the size, look at the role, you look at who's involved. Now Lucas is involved, so he's going to be able to do whatever the fuck he wants, get whoever the fuck he wants. Somebody like fucking Steve Martin or Rick Moranis, and these people who are around and doing the fucking work.
This is the weird thing, okay? Because, and it's interesting you went to Rick Moranis there, because I've actually written that on my next note. Tim Robbins is basically doing Rick Moranis.
Yeah.
So why didn't you just get Rick Moranis?
Yeah,
because if that's what you wanted, just get Rick Moranis. Like you said, it's George Lucas. It's not like he couldn't have got Rick Moranis.
And I mean, if it's an availability issue, then okay, get direct Tim Robbins to do the character as Tim Robbins, not as fucking Rick Moranis.
Or get Martin Short instead.
Yeah.
Or just if that's the kind of energy you want,
yes,
then go for that. don't get Tim Robbins, who, bless him, it just clearly has. We said Lea Thompson's really good with Howard. She's about the only person that is, or apart from Jeff Jones later on, is very good as well with the puppets. But other than that, it's clear that every member of the cast has no fucking idea how to react to this puppet, because they just pitch like they're talking to a fucking 2-year-old.
Oh yeah,
and
completely.
It's absolutely ridiculous. Like, you cannot buy any of the performances in this film. Poor old Tim Robbins just doesn't know what the fuck he's meant to do, and it's clear.
And that's it's one of the I can't recall many, if any, other comic performances from Tim Robbins, and probably for good reason.
Not to this level, anyway. So he's done some more subtly comic, and blackly comic, but not to this fucking level.
Never an out and out comedy.
No, well, not where he's talking to fucking anthropomorphic ducks, anyway. So we get. And then we get some more stuff then. Like, they have the scene and they explain the kind of... he kind of uses Cro-Magnon Man and then Cro-Magnon Duck and explains... That's all fine. Again, more exposition. But to be honest, we don't need it at this point, because we've worked that out, for fuck's sake. So now you're just wasting time. And then they have this kind of go outside because Howard's having a fucking tantrum and they're having this fallout because it doesn't work.
Even before that, you get this reveal that actually, he's like a fucking junior lab technician or something. He's not a scientist. And all the big boys are picking on him, because then you feel a bit sorry for him and you want things to work out for him.
Yeah.
And for fuck's sake, none of that is necessary, because none of it pays off.
No, none of it pays off. And actually, this is the point where I've got a note I'm going to swing back around to with Howard, but I've written literally here, the novelty of this is wearing off now because nothing is happening.
Yeah.
Like, we're 20 odd minutes in and nothing is happening. And the novelty of it being a duck puppet has worn off for me now. I need some fucking story. And like you said, we set it up 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, we've set it up more than once. That's the problem.
Yeah, and now it's going nowhere. But the thing that's really starting to annoy me here as well is we have this scene with Tim Robbins, and then he has a bit of a falling out with Beverly as well, because it's not going his way, and they kind of go the separate ways. And Howard just talks to himself. He's thinking out loud, basically, as he's just wandering around saying exactly what he feels. He is talking in exposition, And again, if the intent is to break the fourth wall, just give him a fucking voiceover.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand, because this doesn't fucking work.
No, I mean, there's some nice bits in this scene where no, they are having their little barn outside the science place. I can't remember if it was a museum or a lab or what it was, but they're having that little barney by the fountain, and a group of kids come up and think he's an exhibit, and he basically tells them to fuck off. I like that, because I'd love to tell a group of kids to fuck off. But so that was fine. The guy looking, the guy sort of eating a sandwich, looking, and he sort of scares him off as well. That's all fine. That's great. Their argument goes, it escalates quicker than a fucking married couple. It's a proper argument over who hasn't done the dishes, and then she storms off. I don't need you anyway. So he then goes on this thing. He's talking to himself. So he decides that having been here less than 24 hours, the thing he needs to do is get a job.
Well, here's the thing, right?
Not find a way home. Not find out where he is, what he's doing there, how he got there, how he gets home. No, I'm going to go to the fucking job center.
Now, here's the exact problem with the whole film, is it's not actually about anything, and you're dead right, because our mission here is obviously for Howard to find his way home, and that's kind of vaguely referenced a few times, but never to the point where there's any obstacle put in the way, or never to the point where it needs to become a thing for him. So, yeah, she stormed off. His primary thing, like, why is he here, and how does he get home?
Yeah.
Like,
that's got to be it. That's what the film's got to be.
Yeah, this thing writes his fucking self, right? Okay. But instead of that, we just get the next 25 minutes. I literally, I've got one note over the next 20 odd minutes, because the next one I've written is we're 40 minutes in and nothing has happened. So I'm not fucking, but there's a couple of things, like there's the dialogue. Everybody is talking in exposition at this point now. That's all we are doing, is talking in exposition. For all the good stuff we had earlier on, it's all being undone immediately here, because everybody's just saying exactly what they think and feel and what needs to happen to move the story. And for those of you not on video, I did just do quotation marks, because there is no story at this point, to move the story forward. Now, my other note, and I don't know, maybe you can enlighten me on this, listeners. Maybe you know, Mark. Astrolophysics. Is that a thing? Or
not
that
like
sounds made up to me.
Astrophysics, maybe? I don't know.
That sounds made up to me. Yeah. Astrolophysics.
Yeah, that's fucking nonsense. But I mean, we get this thing as well. So he goes to the job center. And he's dressed however he's dressed. He's got a fucking stupid hat on, bit of a fucking hipster vibe to him.
Stop you there before I forget. Actually, I said about people talking to the puppets. The lady in the job center gives one of the best performances in this entire fucking film.
She does, yeah.
She's superb.
Yeah. I forgot to look up who that was, actually.
So did I, and I wish I had now, because she's excellent.
Performance. But yes, we get this thing. He's got this fucking hipster vibe. He's got his sunglasses, his little fucking beret, and all the rest of it. And she's like, yeah, I see what you're doing. You're dressing like a twat. So you think I won't be able to get you a job and you can live on welfare. Well, fuck that. I'm going to get you a job. So the next thing you know, he turns up in this fucking wash and wank somewhere. It's like, hang on.
Yeah.
How many adult entertainment places actually advertise in the job center for a start?
And more importantly than all of that, as you say, there's the decision to go and find himself a job. In what version of this story is that the right way to go? Like, he's literally, as you say, been on the planet 24 hours, should be worried about how to get home. Yeah. All right, so he doesn't have much of a life back on his home planet. We established that. But in that case, he needs to make that decision early on. Like, I like Earth, I'm going to stay.
Yeah. Or actually, you know what? It might be a bit of a shit existence. It might be a humdrum, but it's still home. I need to go.
Exactly, right? So it needs to be one or t'other. It either needs to be, I'm going to stay here, and then you have this situational comedy about how he needs to find different jobs. Yeah, and he's got to realize that actually the best way to assimilate into human culture is to just be himself and be the best duck that he can be. And there's that story. Yeah. Or there's the story of, which is the one they're going for, but seem to forget, of, I don't belong here. Yeah. Why am I here? I need to get home.
Yeah, how do I get out of here?
But he just doesn't bother even looking for that. As you say, he goes and works in a fucking dodgy sauna somewhere.
Yeah. And again, there's that whole sequence. It's quite funny. We get, gratuitous tits. We get the scene with the manager where he, chucks him in the fucking, in the sauna, in the jacuzzi. And then Howard pushes him into a sluice tank. All that's funny, but there's no fucking point in any of it.
No, like I say, I've written no notes, because I've just gone from that to astrolophysics, and then I've gone, look, we're 40 minutes in. Nothing has happened. There is no threat. There's no agency. It's just a bunch of bad jokes for
Well,
like
this is it.
25 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, from this point, you go on as you have the more or less nothing. So he goes back to the club to find Beverly.
Yeah.
And so we get the altercation with their manager and the supposed heavy, who looks like he's 4 stone soaking wet. So you get all of that, and you get the fight scene. That again, the fucking song doesn't match the place. It's the music is fine. I quite like the song, but it doesn't fit at all.
No.
And then you get this fight scene, which is a bit crap. And Howard's trying to be a bit menacing. With I'll make another hole for an earring on the other side. That's all fine, but again, the threat is very temporary.
And we've seen this before because we had the quack fu and the punks right back at the start. You're just treading old ground.
Yeah.
And there's no tangible threat there. So, but anyway, that's what happens. We get that. They get back together, get back to their apartment, and then fucking hell, we get this bed.
Yeah.
Like,
no,
I mean, it's weird to the point, like, it bypasses funny altogether and just lands in ew.
It's like, really awkward. I mean, I used this scene probably a year ago. A colleague of mine asked about Howard the Duck because obviously it came up in, I think it was Guardians 2, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Or maybe Thor 2.
Maybe I think it was the first Guardians. I think he shows up at the end, doesn't he? It's one of them.
Whichever one it is. So she was asking who it was, and I was going to explain it. And there aren't a great number of clips on Tinterweb of this film, apart from this scene, because it's the most memorable for obvious reasons. So I put this on, and it was just really uncomfortable because this is a woman in her 50s who I work with, and we're sat at my computer in the office watching Lea Thompson almost get it on with the duck.
And she is, and look, we bring this up on the other shows as well, and look, Lea Thompson looks really fucking good in this film, but she is just gratuitously
absolutely
just undressed here.
And the thing is, I mean, it's bizarre because you get the scene again. It's a bit hit and miss. There's the bit where she comes out of the bathroom and she's in a robe which is open, and she's got the very skimpy underwear and all that sort of stuff. And there's this almost flirtation which hasn't been based on anything. There's been no sign of attraction. There's been no sign of any. There's a bit of chemistry there. There's been nothing to suggest that she's anything other than they're getting on really well.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden it dials up to about 40, and it looks very much like they're gonna fuck.
Oh, it goes from 0 to 100 in seconds.
Yeah, and then so you get it, and he's there, he's flirting as well, and it's progressing, and then all of a sudden he sits on the bed next to her, and she really moves in for it, and he freaks out. I said, hang on, that I would understand if you hadn't just spent the last 5 minutes flirting, how we spent the last 45 minutes fucking ignoring each other.
Yeah, and it just doesn't seem consistent with his character either, because up to this point he's been quite cocky, quite arrogant, so he'd be all over that. The real issue I have with it, though, besides the fact it's just all kinds of you, and I'm thinking about the corkscrew duck penis, and just all of this, it's all horrible, but the real problem is that actually what this does is boil Beverly, who up until now has been quite an interesting character, actually. She's in the band and stuff like that, and she's trying to make it out on her own and things like that. It literally boils Beverly's character down to, I need a man. She practically says it. She practically says... She
does. She say it, doesn't she?
Yeah, I think she does. It boils her character down to, yes, I've put it in quotation marks, I need a man.
Yeah, because she's talking about her life, and then she lays back on the pillow, and she says, "No, I just need a man." And then he does has a response with, "No, does it have to be a man?" or something like that. And again, it's just it ramps up this stuff between them, which has come out of fucking nowhere and will disappear again and never be mentioned again. And it's just like, hang on, so all of a sudden you are completely diminished. Now your entire character is just there to service him.
Yeah.
Not literally.
So that's horrible. Well, that's the thing, right? To take it as it's played, ignoring the horrible character development for her, to take it as it's played, again, we're going for this bawdy sex comedy kind of vibe, and she's running around in her underwear and stuff. Like, that whole thing, as ew as it is, could have worked and could have paid off if they'd have just followed through on the next scene where everybody bursts in and you get the silhouette. Like, you've gone to the trouble of all of that setup.
Yeah.
So why do you not follow through? Just go full on Austin Powers with it. Like, how do you not follow through on this now?
Yeah.
I mean, to the point where you could even bust the corkscrew penis out if you wanted at this point. Like, don't have him actually fuck her, but he could get a corkscrew out or something to open a bottle of wine, or I don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to do. Like, they could be putting things in and out of various orifices in shadow. She could be going down on him. He could be going down on her. There's all, like, but they don't go for any of it.
No,
They
and
just don't go for it.
the only time they do anything like that is when she's with the Overlord in the HGV later on, when he has a tentacle to molest the cigarette lighter.
Yeah,
that's the only time they ever do anything. Well, hang on, you've done all this setup, so why not go for it? Why is that the only thing? I don't know whether it's a line, whether Lucas is going, hang on, we don't want to touch that, we don't want to go near that, or in which case, don't bring us up to the precipice of it.
Yeah, and I'm not, don't get me wrong, I'm not suggesting they actually have sex. What I'm suggesting they do is a bunch of perfectly innocent stuff in silhouette, which to everybody that's watching looks, again, you go full on Austin Powers with it. It's all perfectly innocent stuff.
Yeah, and it's perspective. It's it's an easy way to do it, and it's an easy laugh. But you get a scene that has a bit more impact than just the real fucking creepiness that is them not getting on.
It's just horrendous.
And then obviously you get three guys who just happen to walk in.
Yeah, three guys walk in, and within seconds, I would say, of appearing, Jeffrey Jones is already the best thing in this entire film.
Yeah.
Like, within seconds of walking on screen, like, oh, look, it's an actual actor. Okay. Yeah. Great. Well, the performer showed up.
That's the disappointing thing, because you've got Tim fucking Robbins there as well.
Like, Lea Thompson's no slouch either. And I'd say she's pretty good in this. She, to be fair, with Howard, she's pretty good. With everybody else, she's atrocious. Jeffrey Jones.
But I mean, the thing with that, you look at it and you think, well, hang on, we know that she's good from other things she's done. So what is it that's letting her down here? Is it the script? Yes. Is it the direction? Quite probably. And you think, well, hang on, how do you get to that point? And you think, well, hang on, this is you look at the sports teams, well, no, they go on a winning run and then all of a sudden they start losing. They don't automatically become bad players overnight. Just something, there's something that's not quite clicking or not quite gelling, and it seems to be what it is here for a lot of people. You've got some quality fucking actors, and they're just not taking to it. Now, whether it's because it's a fucking duck puppet movie, I don't know, but you take the money, you take your check, and you sign on for it, then you do the fucking job, surely.
I think this is going to be a controversial opinion, but I'm going with it anyway.
That's unlike you.
Yeah. I think part of the issue here as well is, I don't know at what capacity Lucas was involved as a producer, but one of the people that you go into on the line for this, if you're not sure about something, is George Lucas. And let's be honest, Lucas's track record with storytelling and knowing what works and what doesn't, and what's cheesy and what isn't, and what's necessary and what isn't. See the prequel trilogy.
At this point, we're 15 years ahead of the prequel trilogy. So
I know, but well, again, I mean, let's call a spade here, okay? American Graffiti was great. That's all I got. That's all I got. All right, like, look, he gave us Star Wars, and hats off to him for that. But has he given us the best Star Wars stuff? No, absolutely not. Don't even pretend he did. Okay, because all of the best Star Wars he's had no involvement in.
Well, that's how he oversaw a lot of Clone Wars, didn't he? Him and Dave Filoni.
Don't kid yourself. That was Filoni. Lucas just went, off you go, off you go.
I don't know. I mean, they're bits. I mean. Yeah, you look at the prequel trilogy, and I don't hate a lot of that. There's bits in it which are fucking awful. There are bits in it I quite like, and then you think, well, all right, well the sequel trilogy's fuck all to do with him anyway. So I tend to give him a slight pass on a lot of things, but then
we all give him a pass. We all give him a pass.
You look at some things. As you said, you look at this, you hang on, why? You don't know. I can't work out for the life of me why the fuck he's involved in this film anyway.
Because money, I guess, and puppets and space, and he must have thought it was a good idea.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody, like, why did this get made? Somebody thought it was a good idea.
Well, yeah.
And as we say all the time, a lot of people poured their heart and soul into this.
Yeah, just
I hate to pull this stuff down because making anything is fucking hard, especially at this level. But this just doesn't work for a lot of reasons. I don't think anybody's phoning it in, not for a second. It's the complete opposite. If anything else, a lot of people are far too fucking excited to be in this fucking film.
Again, especially a lot of these of the speaking extras, like in the diner and in the club.
Oh yeah,
they're having a fucking whale of a time.
Definitely. I think this is the difference when Jeffrey Jones shows up, is he just seems to instantly know. I mean, he's a character actor anyway, isn't he? Let's be honest. So, he's a guy that you go to for this kind of role. But he shows up and he just instantly knows why he's there and what he needs to do. And he just fucking nails it from the out all the way down to, straight away from the outset, all the way down to his transformation and everything. Absolutely nails it. As I said, terrified me as a kid.
Yeah.
Just nails it.
It reminded me, I saw Men in Black first, but the first Men in Black with the
very much so.
I can't remember the actor there, but it's very similar performance.
It's Vincent D'Onofrio, Edgar in the bug suit. Very
similar performance.
Very much so.
Yeah, very effective. And it's the best thing in the fucking film.
Oh, by a country fucking mile. So he shows up, and then we get a funny gag. Like, we get the big expository bomb and everything, and then it ends with, any questions? Yes. Where are my pants?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Like, that's really fucking funny. Where was that pacing for the last 20, 30 minutes? Why could this scene have not happened more or less straight after the fallout with Tim Robbins? Like, why do we have to have all of the fucking around in the middle? Okay.
Yeah.
Any questions? Yes. Where are my pants? And it feels like there's momentum, and we're off a little bit now.
Yeah. Now all of a sudden we're starting the story.
This is the thing, and then this back hour or so, it's kind of fine. Like, it's got problems, but there's a story now, and there's a tangible threat, and Howard has a mission. But the problem is, we haven't really set it up in the first act.
And this is the thing. I mean, we had that first 20 minutes where everything works out quite well. And then we get a good 30, 35, possibly as much as 40 minutes where fuck all happens.
Yeah.
And we don't get introduced to our quest. We don't get introduced to anything apart from Tim Robbins being a bit fucking goofy.
Yeah.
And you think, all right, okay, well, you could, instead of doing that for 40 minutes, you could have put in, 10 minutes of groundwork, set up the fucking mission, set up the main story. Your film doesn't seem to quite. I mean, I sat down, so I didn't start this at 11 o'clock last night. So it was near 1 by the time it finished, and I was on my arse. And you could quite easily, and it's a gripe I have with films. A lot of films nowadays, when you go to the cinema and they're running at 2:20, 2:30, you can strip out half an hour quite easily, and you could have done it with this film and ran it at, I don't know, just shy of 90 minutes, and it would have been a far better film.
At 90 minutes, if you strip out, for a start, that 20 minutes of fucking around at the job centre and stuff, at 90 minutes, I think this is it's not a
passable.
Good film, but it's definitely an entertaining film, and it will be spoken about a lot more positively.
Yeah.
There's even things like, because the setup hasn't been done, because we wasted all that 20 minutes, the initial thought here now is we end, Jesus Christ, Act 1, really this far into the fucking film.
Yeah, just shy of an hour.
Like, the initial sort of hefter that kicks us off into Act 2 is that Howard's going back home. They found a way to send him home, but
or at least they found how he got here. That's the starting point.
But there's no real kind of emotional heft to him leaving. Like, he gets his kind of, he's going to leave and stuff like that, but he hasn't done anything or formed any kind of real tangible bonds with anybody.
No,
he's only known Beverly for like 2 days, 3 days. So
yeah. But I mean, not only that, I mean, he hasn't had the time to form any sort of tangible attachment here. But we've had nothing in the build-up. And I say the build-up, I mean the really fucking slow bit in the middle of Act 1, that suggests he actually wants to go home. He likes his home. There's anything there for him.
Exactly. So that's weird. We do get another really good gag, though, like a spit take gag for me, when they're going into like the research base type thing, and they've got the barriers.
Yeah.
In the way, and Howard just walks underneath the barrier. That was genius. Yeah, really fucking funny, because he's so small. He just walks straight underneath the barrier.
You've got that, and you've got the one as well where they drive up to it, and the barrier's up. What do? Fucking drive through it. And it's so obvious. But it's like, how many people would actually stop when there's a security gate? I've got to stop, even if it's up.
Yeah.
And it's just so fucking stupid.
Yeah, really, really good. And like I said, from here on out, I feel like this is the proper start of the film. It starts to. They've got the conversation, where they're all in the van, and they've got Jeffrey Jones on as well, and they're having a discussion. And they use lines like, well, what if we brought something else down this time? And you start to get this tangible sort of dread creeping in. Like
there's a bit of a threat there.
And all of a sudden now Howard is going to have to fight something, and it started, but there's no reason for him to fight them, but he is, he's our hero, so he's going to, and he's starting to look up here, but it's just taken us too long to get to this point. And then, we said that Jeffrey Jones is the best thing in the film. We now also meet the Flatfoots, the police officers, who are just the worst bunch of performers. And I hate to criticize people unnecessarily, but these performances are abysmal. Yeah. There is no other word for these performances.
I mean, these are the ones who shocking. These are the ones who read the script and went, really? This is what I'm doing? I need a new agent.
Yes, these are definitely phoning it in. Like,
even the detective, I mean, you
get worse. He's a fucking worse.
I see. Generally, you'd find, okay, well, you get the patrolmen, your regular coppers in uniform. They're going to be shit because they're rank and file numbers 1 through 10, and you move there, you do this, you do that. Nobody really gives a fuck what you're doing as long as you're not standing still and looking at the camera.
Yeah.
The detective comes in, and he should be some way of incitement. He should be the one who says, right, okay, this is what's happening now. I am the tangible threat to Howard at this point.
Yeah.
Because I want to arrest him. I want to put him in a lab. Once they ascertain he's not a midget in a suit, because they go and fucking molest him. Once you get to that point, he should be the tangible threat. So you get this thing of shoot to kill. That shouldn't be coming from uniformed officer. That should be coming from the person leading it.
Yeah.
He's escaped. He's a terror. He's blown up this lab. He's an alien. He's armed. That should be coming from him. But instead, we get fuck all from him.
Now, here's the thing as well, okay? Yes, the lab blows up and stuff like that, and Howard happens to be there. But, I mean, it's pretty fucking spurious to go from that to basically a full-on duck hunt, as they call it, full-on manhunt. Like, nobody questions why the police just instantly go, it's Howard's fault, kill him.
You know what it is, isn't he? Because he's foreign.
An alien. Yeah, I know, I get it. But I need a bit more than that.
Well, but this is it. And not only that, let's look at it in terms of sheer, what happened in sheer logic. He was being arrested. Lea Thompson stole the fucking gun and pointed at a cop.
Yep.
But why are they not chasing her?
Why exactly, right?
She's a blonde white lady.
Yeah. But here's the whole thing, is that this, like you said, this arc, this detective and his side of the story has got somewhere to go, okay? He is a tangible threat. So why not, in the start of the first act, after we have the fight with the punks and the fight at the bar, why not have an APB on Howard at that point?
Yeah.
And then it's a race against time to get back to the lab and find somebody who can send him home. And then all of a sudden, Act 2 starts a lot earlier, and this, as it should be and as it's really intended to be but isn't because nothing has happened, this becomes your Act 2 midpoint, where all of a sudden there's a crisis and we have to write. This is just basics. This is writing by numbers. Okay, so why not do that? Why not have and you can have the police then as a threat all the way through. You build them in that first act, follow all the way through. At the end, they can come good and help Howard vanquish the evil overlord. Not hard, okay? No. But that's not what we do. We decide we're starting Act 2 here instead for some random fucking reason. However, now it's started, police aside, it's not too bad. We get this scene with Jeffrey Jones and Lea Thompson in the van, and they're good together. As they're both good actors, they're good together. This is the only time two actual actors interacting is any good in this film. These two together. And some good lines as well, when evil has landed. And he starts building up and he keeps saying, there's something inside of me, I'm transforming, and it's fucking scary. I can see why it scared me as a kid.
The thing that bugged me with it, right, is that he's doing all of this, and at this point he's carrying the fucking film.
Oh, absolutely.
And
he showed up.
And he's like, oh yeah, no, there's something inside. I can feel myself turning, and the response is, oh, go and find a bathroom, go and take a shit. And so it's diminishing the only tangible threat we have is being completely diminished.
And it would help. If those lines were funny, that might help, but they're not. So just let this be what it wants to be. And I think somewhere along the line, I think what they wanted to go for here is kind of sci-fi horror comedy. They wanted to go for a kind of, I think, vaguely, you mentioned Men in Black, like a vaguely Men in Black, Ghostbusters, Evolution kind of vibe, where it's this, you've got this threat and there's comedy involved with it. They want to go for that, but they've just got the balance totally wrong, because what we've had is an hour of mostly unfunny comedy, and now we're going to have an hour of sci-fi adventure, and they haven't gelled them together. Having said that, they pull into the diner, and instantly, I'm a kid again. They pull into that diner, and I'm thinking, oh my god, this fucking scene terrified me as a kid. It's the first thing I thought, and it's a fucking good scene. From here on out, there are some good stuff. The waitress needs special mention in the diner. She's fucking superb. One of the best actors in the film, along with the job center lady. She is better than most of the cast. And I mean the fucking principal cast here, not the extras. She is excellent. And Jeffrey Jones is great as well, doing his slow kind of, by this point he's more or less transformed. His voice is different. He's got a lot of mannerisms he's throwing. Very, very good performance. The problem is, though, he's spending an awful lot of time explaining his evil scheme whilst sat in a diner casually having some food. That doesn't make any sense to me. Shouldn't he be getting on with conquering the planet?
Well, that's it. And I mean, I don't know whether it's because he's just transforming. He hasn't turned yet, or he hasn't fully turned, or and he says about his powers and his strength are returning and stuff like that. So maybe it is just a case of he's biding his time. But at that point, talk about the fucking weather. You don't spell out your evil scheme. There's a nice gag in this scene where you're gonna
put the gag I got. It's best gag of the film.
It's brilliant, but it doesn't fit in this scene. It doesn't belong in this scene, because this scene is where the tension is ramping up.
Oh no, actually no. You're about where she brings him out and Howard sees the egg and starts going on about the fact that's good. The best gag in the film, and it's down to Jeffrey Jones's performance as well, is when she takes him away and she took my eggs. Fucking hilarious.
Because it's so out of nowhere, it's so out of left field, it doesn't fit with what's going on in the rest of the scene. And it's funny, and as a concept, serving a duck eggs is brilliant, but it doesn't fit. And it's my big problem with this. It's one of my big problems with the film is that bits where they should have done, where they should have focused on the humor and the comedy, they miss. And when they should be ramping up tension, building up drama, building up the action, they then go for the gag, and it just rips the pace right out of it.
And I'm okay with them balancing that and going for the gags. And as I say, Jeffrey Jones's punchline is fucking brilliant, because he delivers it in that voice as well. And he's really you believe he's got a murderer when she takes him away. The problem is, again, it's just the narrative misstepping of if he's going to sit at the diner and have a discussion with him, okay, he either he's spelled out his evil scheme, but he's doing it in such a casual, friendly way that it kind of doesn't work. He's just, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do this, and they're listening to him as though because they know that he's transformed as well, and they listen, and nobody's thinking maybe we should stop this. What needs to happen is he's from another planet, Howard's from another planet. His initial move has to be, Howard, you need to help me. We need to bring down the rest of the evil overlords. We're going to enslave the human race. And then Howard gets to have his... Because this is the other problem, is Howard and the overlords, other than the overlord is evil and Howard's not, have no real direct connection. There's no beef there. So if at this point then Howard can be actually, I've been here for a couple of days, and this is where all of this stuff from earlier on in working and making friends and all of that, this is where this all pays off. If you just throw a scene in here where he's actually, I've been here a couple of days, Earth's not so bad, these people are nice, they don't deserve to die, so why don't you fuck off? And then the two of, and then you can escalate this bit of threat between them, instead of having the redneck brawl in the diner, which, don't get me wrong, is good, and again, fucking terrifying when he lets loose, but the beef needs to be between Howard and the Overlord. We need to have our tangible fucking threat here. And so, look, this is never going to be the fucking diner scene in Heat, but it needs to kind of go there. It needs to be Howard, this is what we're going to do, and you're with me, right? And then Howard can be no, I'm absolutely not with you. And then this can escalate, and then if you want, you can culminate in that fight, and the two of them can have a pop at each other whilst also taking on all of the biker gang. Because this scene itself, narratively, then whilst it's good and whilst it's reasonably well handled, the scene doesn't work. You know, like at one point, Beverly says to him, "I can't believe you're sitting there. Look at what they're doing to Howard. He's fucking evil. Of course he's sitting there. Why would he help?
Because
Why,
at this point, we've already established the scientist who actually likes Howard and wants to help Howard is dead, or he's not in there.
Yeah. So
we'll come back to that later on as well.
Well, that's the other thing. If there'd have been a stronger connection there, if this had been Tim Robbins,
yes,
this would have made more sense as well. Or let's be honest, if Tim Robbins had been Jeffrey Jones,
yeah,
everyone's a winner.
Yeah, but anyway, get rid of Filsey altogether.
Yeah. So, okay, so let's work all this out. Okay, I can't believe you're sitting here. Look at what they're doing to Howard. Right, he's evil. So, okay, why did they wait till now to start with to fight him? Like he's been there all along. Why did they wait? You know, it's like they just casually waited for him to get up and announce his presence before starting on him. Okay.
Yeah.
Why is he asking for the code to the flashy thing? Like what? Just like he's a fucking evil alien overlord. Like surely he can just take it.
Well, yeah, because he has all these fucking powers and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, he can produce all sorts of fucking rays and shit like that. So presumably one of them would be enough to overcharge this machine and set the laser off.
Yeah. So why does he have to ask for the code? He should be able to just take it from them. And then finally, when all of this plays out, why bother taking Lea Thompson? I mean, I get it. He wants host bodies, okay? But that hasn't really been explained. I'm just making the narratively based on my knowledge of genre and stuff here.
Yeah, but not only that, because he said, you know, he says they need host bodies. Fine. He's just left how many fucking people in that diner?
That's what I'm saying. Exactly. Why her specifically? Because he doesn't need just one. Yeah. Okay. As it happens, when we get to the end, he only brings 2 down, whereas in his speech here, he's bringing down a fucking army.
Yeah.
But like, why don't you just take them all? I don't understand. None of this makes any narrative sense whatsoever. None of it. But having said that, whilst it is still very poorly written, this is much more enjoyable. Like, where was this an hour ago?
Yeah.
If we'd have been here an hour ago, I'm all in on this film. If we'd have been here an hour ago, but it's too little, too late. Like, we're 1 hour and 15 minutes in, and we're at the start of Act 2.
Yeah. And by an hour and 45, we're done.
Yeah. Now, again, just double underlined exclamation points here. Why do the fucking cops want Howard? Like, they show up at the diner and instantly, like, it's a fucking duck.
Well, this is it's a fairly big leap that this duck, who they know fuck all about, other than he's an anthropomorphic duck, escaped them. Now, at this point, they don't know the duck was there. They don't know he's done anything apart from nearly get fucking murdered. So why are they after him? So then he's there hiding in plain sight, which is fine. It works as a gag, and he's calling Filsey out the car, and you get this gag whereby he's like, "Oh, I've got to get out of here." So Tim Robbins goes out the window while Howard opens the door from the outside on the other side of the car. That's a nice gag, but it completely ruins any tension which is being built up with the fact he is there with all these fucking coppers who are looking for him, and he's right in front of them.
Yep. It makes no fucking sense. Then you get they do interview the waitress though, and she's great again, so she's funny. Now for the next 20 minutes, I really got very little to complain about. They go on their fucking flight in their little aeroplane thing, and there's some fuckery, but it's fuckery in the sense of we now have a narrative and we're moving forward. Jeffrey Jones has Beverly. They have to save Beverly. There is a mission to go on.
Yeah,
they have to stop the overlords.
Lawnmower plane, whatever the fuck it's supposed to be. It's nice. It works.
And it works fine. Now we're off on an adventure.
Yeah, and
we should have been off on an adventure an hour ago.
Yeah, and now all of a sudden the slapstick gags you have where the police are shooting at them, and you get they're fucking weaving in and out, and it's such a crappy little fucking vehicle anyway, can barely take off because of the weight of the two of them on it. So you get that, you get the interaction with the two, you get Phil falling off it and hanging off the wheels and shit. That's all funny, that all works. But at this point, we should be really gearing up. We should be tooling up and going into the fucking lab to end it. We shouldn't be saying, right, now we're going on our road trip. Now we're going on the 40 to 60, 65 minute mark of what would be a normal action film or a comedy action film.
And again, like you've got the team up with him and Filthy now, which works fine because they ended on a bad note back an hour of fucking go. So it works fine that they now have to team up and have this kind of odd couple relationship, except Filthy doesn't play it like that when he shows up at all. He's like, "Oh, Howard, great to see you." Like they should hate each other. It would work much better.
Yeah,
it would work much better. Yeah, but there's not.
Again, it's your typical odd couple trope, isn't it?
Yeah,
you put the two together, force them to coexist, and they work it out.
Yeah, and then by the end, then they're best buds.
Yeah, because I mean, the other thing I didn't get, and the other thing that didn't happen, which I would have expected, is the way that Phil is set up. It's almost like he's going to be an unrequited love interest for Beverly.
I mean, yeah, he's set up as a rival for Howard, definitely.
Yeah, and it just never happens.
Nope. I mean, there's a lot that never happens. I genuinely do think there's a script in here somewhere that wasn't produced. And I genuinely think somebody, because I know one of the things I do know about this film is it was originally intended to be an animated movie.
Right.
And it ended up going live action. So whether things were taken out and the script was bolstered and things like that, because it was an animated movie, it probably would have been about 80, 90 minutes, which is the right fucking length. Yeah.
Which is, if you had that, not the extra 40 minutes of shit, would have been fine.
So it feels like, maybe the stuff that was thrown in there was maybe half-baked. But yeah, you get all of this stuff. And to be honest, I've not got too many notes on it because actually I'm pretty entertained here.
Yeah.
So I'm not fault-finding. I'm not writing stuff down. There's nothing really too bad to say about it. I'm pretty fucking entertained. It's all over too quickly. Yeah. It's, we should have had... this an hour ago and it should be running for best part of an hour, this part of it, but it doesn't. Yeah. We get instead half hour of this fuckery.
Yeah. I think the Keystone Cops and shit like that all works really well. It's good. It's great. This is my problem overall with the film, is that there's a lot of promise and there are a lot of bits which they've done, and if they'd done properly and done them to the right extent, would have been fine. But the things they needed to do, they didn't do, and the things they didn't need to do, they fucking dragged out for an hour.
Yeah, exactly. We had all of this stuff set up way back at the start, like you said, where he was a bit nervous by the loud noises and the shaking and stuff like that. All of that would have played out really well now in this final act when he gets to the final showdown and he's got to ride the gun and he's in a chair riding the fucking gun.
Which is going to be, it's going to be fucking shaking him all over the place. You've got explosions going on.
Yeah. Why doesn't he flash back and have to deal with some PTSD and put that extra hurdle into place? All of that. But the real issue with it anyway is that Howard just doesn't really have to, I guess, duck up here. There's no connection between him and the Overlord. There's no tangible threat for him to be scared of. He doesn't have like, oh my God, again, why doesn't he? Maybe you could have had these as like they were an evil race on his world that were abolished. They were the Nazis of the Duck world.
Yeah. And they were banished, because it says they were banished to somewhere.
Yeah, all of these things that you could draw on. And you don't.
So I was thinking when you were talking about about this whole thing of them potentially teaming up and him we could have done that. Yeah, that would have been easy. Easy way to do it. So they attacked my planet, or even to the point where the Overlord says, your planet's gone. Because again that ruins it for him. And now all of a sudden he has to hero up and save a planet that's not his because he hasn't got anywhere else to go. There are all these ways they could have gone with it, which would have been infinitely better just because they'd been more fucking interesting and there would have been more about the story.
I mean, we literally just fixed it between us in 30 seconds. It's literally that. They almost destroyed his planet and, all right, there was a massive war. They were the Nazis of his planet. There was a massive duck war, and now they're going to do it to Earth and he will not let it happen again because he lost his father in the Great Duck War of 39 or whatever. I don't know, whatever, right? Yeah. You can work the details out amongst yourselves. Yeah. But that instantly gives you, and you don't have to do any heavy lifting there. That's something that everybody gets immediately, straight away. Like as soon as they get in the diner and he says who he is, Howard is like, just Howard wigs out straight away. And that escalates to the fight in the diner because he's a duck and then the good old boys can get involved because the duck shouldn't be threatening the nice ginger white man. Yeah. Just straight.
And again, even to a point where you've got Jeffrey Jones's character, he would be taunting Howard effectively.
Yeah, because he'd have the good old boys on his side as well then. So he could be using that to just drop these really subtle, delicious one-liners in. He could eat the eggs. Yeah. All sorts of things. But there's none of that. So unfortunately, despite enjoying all the adventure stuff, when we get to the final showdown, which is well handled, mind you, it just doesn't feel earned. I just don't feel it because these two have only just met.
Yeah.
Like they've spent 20, 30 minutes together at most, and not even that actually, because they haven't been on screen together for much at all.
No, that's right. And I mean, you get this point. So no, they again, and you have a nice scene. You get the culmination of the chase scene where all the police cars are chasing them. They fly through the train because they can't get over it, so it breaks the wings, and they have to drive in. And all that's all great. That's all fine. They pull up to the building, which you recognise as being the one that they were in earlier. That's all fine. That works really well. And then they go inside, and then it's like they stop, and you think, okay, you're going to build something. We're going to get a tooling up sequence. We're going to get something which really ramps it up. And we don't. We get the start of that where they have this fucking deatomizer or whatever the fuck it's called, and they have to get to that. But they hold any momentum on that because it's locked inside a locked room and all the rest of it. So that slows right down. You're cutting back and forth to Lea Thompson and Jeffrey Jones, which again isn't really going anywhere. It's just pointless dialogue. I know it says two people talking on the internet, but no, it's talking for the sake of talking. It's fleshing out a scene that doesn't need fleshing out.
Yeah, we know what he's doing. We know what his plan is. We just need to see him strapping her down to the table. But
and again, you get that stupid this thing where she's like, "I'm not afraid. There's nothing you can do to me." And you get this really lascivious look where his hand is hovering over her thigh, and then he pulls the ratchet strap back and tightens it up. There's no need for any of that.
No need for it at all. But the bit that really bugs me though, listen, and you hit the nail on the head there when they go to get that gun thing, that disruptor, whatever it is, which is just a literal magic bullet because they've written themselves into such a fucking hole.
Yeah.
Because there is no tangible threat, no reason for any of this to be happening. They're just like, how do we end this quickly?
Well, yeah, and not only that, okay. If you look at Men in Black as a comparison again with the bug, they seed sugar very early on.
And that's the problem with this. And there is absolutely no reason why this gun couldn't have appeared the first time they went to the lab and somebody had an accident with it as they were walking through the door and go, whoa, 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 that thing's really fucking unstable. Don't go anywhere near that.
Yeah.
That's all it takes.
Yeah.
That's it. And then instead of fucking Filzy having to go, I know, Howard's seen it. He sees the thing be unstable. He sees it explode, give off a massive ray and, I don't know, blow a hole in a fucking lab wall or something.
Yeah.
That's all you need to see it do.
Yeah.
So
all of a sudden it's a thing.
Need that.
Yeah, it's a thing rather than going, oh, my friend showed me something when I was here 6 months ago, which has nothing to do with the film.
Yep. And like you said, Men in Black, they seed it early on. And look, I'm no real fan of Men in Black. It's much, much better than this.
I like the first one.
I don't dislike it.
It's Will Smith. It's
This is my issue. I'm not a Will Smith fan. But with a few exceptions. But in general, I'm not a Will Smith fan. So that's my Men in Black issue. But anyway, this isn't a Men in Black podcast. But yeah, you're dead right. They seed the sugar earlier on. And even things like the fucking noisy cricket and stuff in Men in Black as well, that's seeded early. It's like, it's a tiny little gun. Let's all laugh at you. And then when he fires it, it's like, fuck me.
Yeah.
That's what this is missing. Like, and it's happened. We've mentioned it several times through the course of pulling this apart now. There's loads of stuff that was seeded earlier on that doesn't pay off. And there's loads of stuff that just happens that feels like it's just been dropped in out of nowhere because they've gone, hang on,
we need to finish this.
Science.
And I mean, not only that, I mean, you look at it and you think, right, okay, what do we need to finish this? We've got aliens and we've got George Lucas on board, so we've got ILM. So let's do some fucking lasers.
Yeah. And look, the effects, fucking great. I love the fucking stop motion overlords when they come out. They're fucking brilliant. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. I mean, again, I love this shit. I love practical effects. They look ace. Even the creature design. Fucking brilliant. They look really, really cool.
Well, I had to look twice because by the time we got to this point, and I was watching it last night, I'd say it was pushing 1 o'clock, and I was starting to nod, and I thought I'd missed more than I had because I rewatched it this afternoon. I rewatched the last half hour just to make sure I picked it all up. And the design of it, so when it comes up and you sort of see it from a distance and you get the arms fucking smashing around and all the rest of it, and then you go to close up and it looks like there's a fucking mouth snarling, and then it lifts its head up, so it's like there's a fucking mouth on the back of its head. It's a really interesting design.
Yeah,
and again, if they'd done it earlier on, if we'd seen something of it earlier on, you could have just seen a fucking fang or a claw or this random second mouth, and it would have been enough to just seed the creature and what it is, and give us an idea of what they're up against.
Yep. So again, seeding is the issue, and all of this stuff, like, it's all working. I like the creature. I like the fact that Howard's got to drive the gun, and the showdown between them is all working. It's just that it doesn't mean anything because there's no personal connection. Had we just had that stuff in the diner,
Yeah.
even just with that, I still think it needs to come earlier, but even just with that, this would all be 100% better. You know, and moreover, what is Howard sacrificing? Because surely it makes much more sense if the only way to kill these things is to use the fucking laser that sends Howard home.
Yes.
So if he's going to kill them,
blast them into a sun or something.
He's forfeiting his only way home. He can never go home again.
Yeah. But that works, but the problem is we've not established a home is somewhere who's actually fucking interested anyway.
Well, that is the other thing, isn't it? That would have needed seeded early on. But then you can see how easily all of this can come together and how actually, like, the bits are kind of here. It's like a paint by numbers and somebody's just got the numbers fucking mixed up. And they put red where there should be yellow, yellow where there should be blue.
I was going to say, for me, it's a case of paint by numbers. Some cunt has nicked the yellow.
Yeah, and it's just like it doesn't make sense because all of this is just maybe, I don't know, maybe we're simplifying it too much, but it just seems so obvious to me.
Yeah.
And you know, I don't know. They just need to make it personal, you know, and sort of by the time that does come around, because we do get that at the end, then we do get this thing of we may not be able to get you home and stuff. It's too little, too late.
Yeah.
You know, it should be in order to beat the Overlord. He does have to do that. He does have to reverse the thing and blow up the laser. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it should be to beat the Overlord. So that, because by the time he does it, then it's not like it's this big heroic act. It's like this is we have to do this. There's no question. Otherwise, she's dead. Right, and the Overlord's coming through and everybody's dead. It should be a case of there is a direct threat there to everybody.
Yes.
There's the weapon. I'm the only one that can do this. It is my only way home. I have to go and get it, turn it on him, and forfeit my way home. So and also, more importantly than all of that, okay, the big logic gap that was bugging me all the way through this showdown. I asked a short while ago when we were talking about the diner scene, why did he specifically take Lea Thompson? Okay, just like why is he now only bringing 2 down? So he's got Lea Thompson and he's got Tim Robbins. He's going to bring 2 down.
Yeah.
Where's the rest of the fucking army? Why are there only 2? Wasn't he supposed to be bringing an entire fucking army down? Because
well, there's that, and there's the fact he says no, that we need human hosts. So that's the whole threat to Lea Thompson. We need human hosts, but they come down and they're fully formed. It's not that they need to gestate or anything. No. It's not like she needs to give birth to them or anything, or they need her to develop before they burst out.
That's what I'm saying.
They come down as fully formed monsters. So
I don't.
What's the fucking point? Just bring a horde.
Yeah,
bring 50 of the cunts and lay waste to Cleveland. Because let's be fair, Cleveland, who cares?
Yeah, he just didn't need him. I to the point where actually when he breaks out of Jeffrey Jones, he's more powerful because in that body you're saying, oh, this body can't sustain me. I need to keep eating things and stuff like just transform then.
Yeah, just literally just come straight through.
I just don't get it. But so there's that. That's the end of our film. Howard saves the day with 0 fucking threat whatsoever. Yeah. Decent fight, but 0 threat, 0 personal connection. He saves the day with a magic fucking bullet.
Yeah, and you get like we go to the song in a minute, and I mean you get thinking about him saving the world, and he has no low-key saved the world, except nobody fucking knew about it anyway. Nobody knew there was a threat because there wasn't one.
And I'm fine with that. I'm fine with a kind of reluctant hero who lives among us and will never know how thankful we should be because we don't see what he deals with day in, day out because he's, Men in Black, stopping all the intergalactic threats. And
that's fine.
But then
there wasn't a threat to begin with.
No, and if that's going to happen, if he's going to be that character, then he needs to be battling personal demons.
Yes.
So, he needs to have his own internal turmoil, which is why he doesn't reveal himself to the world, because quite frankly, he's a fucking horrible person.
Yeah.
But that isn't there at all. There is none of that. So there's no drama. That's the problem with this whole thing. There's not an ounce of drama in this entire fucking film.
No,
there's no narrative through line. Nobody has any agency. There's no real plot to speak of. There's no connection between any of the characters other than Beverly and Howard want to fuck. Like, it just they bin it all. They set those 2 up to have quite a nice relationship at the start, and then they just bin it off. It's like,
but that is this film in summation, isn't it? That's what they do. They the things they set up, they just go, fuck it. And I think you're absolutely right. I think there's a far better film in here than we got, and it's difficult to work out where the blame for that lies. Because at some point there was a script, there would have been all sorts of production meetings and all sorts of process you go through to get to a point where you say, right, we're ready to shoot. At some point, somebody missed that gaping fucking 40-minute bit where they went, hang on, what the fuck has this got to do with anything?
Yep.
Why, apart from a couple of really easy fucking gags and some boobs, why are we doing this? And the answer is, I don't fucking know.
Nor do I. We're doing it all to get to an awesome fucking on-stage rock number at the end. That's why we're doing it. Just some 80s fucking power pop rock number at the end where they riff on Back to the Future. Just that's it. That's why we're doing it. That's it.
Yeah.
To get to that. We're doing it.
Video then.
We're doing it to get to a fucking music video, basically.
Yeah. In that case, don't spend the fucking millions of dollars you spend. Just make a music video.
Yeah. So I mean, there you have it. Really, it's a film of two halves, isn't it? The second half, it's pretty fucking enjoyable. I'll be honest. Like it's full of problems, which are all the fault of the first half.
Yeah.
But despite all of that, it was okay. I went with it and I had a good time for the last kind of hour. But fuck all happens in the first hour when actually a lot of stuff should be happening.
Yeah.
To sell that second hour. The performances are fucking horrible. Just like Jeffrey Jones is exceptional. We've got those two extras or bit players, if you like.
Yeah.
The waitress and the lady at the job center who are good, and Lea Thompson is sporadically good depending on who she's working with. Everybody else is fucking horrible to the point where, like I said, that detective is one of the worst performers I've ever witnessed in my life. And that may not be his fault. Okay, he may be a very, very good performer. He's just got bad material. It's been poorly directed. So it's not like I've got him in my sights or anything like that.
And this is the thing. I mean, we, as we've said on this and other shows, we weren't there. We don't know. No. But it smacks a little bit of people going, well, I'm in here for two scenes. I don't really give a fuck.
Yeah.
And then you get the odd one who's only, the waitress and the employment lady, and they're in one scene each. But they fucking go, you know what? It's a job, and I'm going to do it. This is what I've been hired to do. I'm going to do it. And no, that's unfortunately it stands out for the wrong reason. It stands out because nobody else does that.
Yeah.
One thing I did read yesterday was that all the songs Lea Thompson sang herself, and I think when they released it on DVD or Blu-ray in about 2009. And in one of the commentaries or one of the interviews, they weren't sure right up until the day of the imminent release of the film whether they would leave him in or not, or whether they were going to overdub it.
That would have been a horrible mistake if they took the songs out.
Or overdubbed them, to be honest, because I think she does a very good job of selling them.
She does. I mean, her performance on stage is very good as well. Yeah. At all times.
There's a gag as well we kind of skipped over where the fight is going on in the bar and they're singing behind the cage, and she just stops mid-song with "fuck it, this is too slow" and starts an entirely new song.
Yeah.
Again, it's just a really nice thing where even the people who are there and are sort of getting on with the music, they don't give a fuck. The band don't give a fuck, and they're just like, sod it, we'll play something else. And it kind of sums up the whole film for me. It's just like, oh yeah, well this isn't working. Let's just try something else instead and see if anybody notices.
Yeah, it's kind of throw everything against the wall, isn't it? It's a mess. The whole fucking thing is a great big mess. It's like I said right back at the start. It feels like it's about 10 films rolled into one. It's schizophrenic. Right. Go on.
I was going to say that you said there's 10 films rolled into one, and it's kind of schizophrenic. Are any of those 10 films better than Mario?
No. There's no question with this one for me. None whatsoever. I was thinking going into this based on how much I used to like it as a kid. The half of it that I watched anyway. And again, it's the worst half that I used to watch, but I didn't know really what was coming after it. So it wasn't like I was expecting it to lead somewhere. I was just, and as a kid, I was fine with fucking Play Duck and the tits and the quack foo and stuff. All fine. It was just fucking.
It should have been silly, isn't it?
Fucking around. Yeah, so it's cool with it. So I was expecting going in for this to be a close run thing. I wasn't ever expecting for it to be good, but I was thinking I'd be sat here agonizing a little bit as to whether it's better than Mario or not. It's not. It's definitely not. Mario, for all its faults, and I've said this when we've come to this question, but Mario, for all its faults, is entertaining.
Yeah.
And at no point during watching it, not just when we've watched it for the show, but the other times I've watched it as well, at no point do I feel the need to check the runtime. At no point do I feel the need to look at my watch.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I did it when we were doing it for the show because we do kind of time these things, but at no point do I feel the need. Whereas watching this, especially in that first hour, I was like, oh, for fuck's sake, how long have I got left? Really?
Yeah.
It was a chore. I did not enjoy watching this. The second half I did. That flew by. Too little, too late by then. So
yeah,
no, categorically, absolutely not. Is it one of the worst films ever made? No. All right, I think that's unfair. But it certainly is very bad. It's a fucking car crash of a film.
Yeah, I think I'm the same. I mean, I went into it thinking, oh, I know it's bad. I know, obviously, I've seen a lot more recently than you had until rewatching for this. So I kind of knew where it was going, and I knew a lot of the narrative problems we were going to come up against. And I think, were you to lose that 30, 35, 40 minutes and have that structure we've been talking about, it's there. And I think losing that would make it a passable film and will possibly make it a far closer run thing with Mario, because at least then you've got a coherent narrative that goes from point A to point B.
Yep.
The problem is you do all this fucking meandering via point Z before you get to point B just to fill it and make stupid fucking jokes. Now, don't get me wrong, I love a good pun, and there's some decent duck puns in there, but they just don't. It's like the tone of the film doesn't know where it sits, and it doesn't know. So you start off and it's quite gritty, it's quite serious. You then it kind of plays in. It's going to be a sort of an action comedy, which is which is fine for the 80s. And seeing a lot of Marvel stuff as it's come through later on, you kind of expect that to be where it sits as well. But then all of a sudden it just goes off in this massive fucking tangent where he goes and works in a brothel, and he gets a job for no fucking reason, and you've got some sciencey people because why not? And it's like, hang on, I don't need any of this. He's here and he doesn't know why. He wants to get home. How does he get home? How did he get here in the first place? Do the work, put the groundwork in that first 25, 30 minutes, set up your second act before you get to the hour mark, and you're fine. The problem is they didn't know where they were going with this film until they got to that run-in, and where you get all of Act 2 and all of Act 3 in the space of 40 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, and like you said, it is easy to get from point A to B to C with this story. It's easy. He gets sucked from his home, brought down to Earth. First thing that happens is a bunch of punks beat him up because of the way that he looks. He looks different, so he's persecuted on Earth. He hates Earth. He needs to get home.
Yeah.
Then he meets Beverly and Filsey, and he forms some friendships, and he starts to realize that actually not all humans are bad, and Earth isn't so bad. Then he gets the opportunity to go home, and instead we suck down the overlords. And he has by that point, because he's learned to accept humanity, it's a bit gut wrenching when he's first going to go home. The overlord comes down, threatens to destroy the planet. Howard has history with him. Off he goes. He now has to save Earth because it's full of people that he cares about, and sacrifice is ultimately his one way home.
Yeah.
So then he has to learn to blend in, kind of like Mac and Me, but with more tits.
That's probably the best description of this film you will ever have.
And less terrorism.
Yeah.
Nobody blows up a gas station in this one.
That's very true. I forgot about that. But yeah, I don't know. It's just frustrating because I think you see what could be there, and even when, as you say, it's a tertiary comic character, there is enough there to make a coherent story out of.
Definitely. And I just gave you one. I don't watch that.
That's it. And you say, well, why couldn't you fucking do that? Why couldn't you say, right, we'll blow off all this shit, which doesn't know. Somebody's gone and written that, and somebody's greenlit that. Somebody's gone, yeah, that's funny. That's gonna keep people laughing. That's gonna keep people's interest. When in reality, it doesn't do anything apart from just stop the story in its tracks. I say story, ironically, but there is a story there. They just don't know how to fucking tell it. And I think that's the frustration for me, and that's why I'm more annoyed that I fucking bought it rather than renting it. Because am I ever going to watch it again?
No.
I probably will know in general principle because I paid for it. But it ain't exactly something I'm going to be going back to time and time again.
I mean, it's that film you can bust out now if you've got people around, and you can be like, "Have you ever seen?
Yeah, we've seen this shit
where a duck tries to seduce a woman, then gets cold feet, because here it is.
Yeah.
Here's that. Did you ever want to see a duck's naked breasts? Here they are.
Yeah.
Like it's that film, isn't it?
Yeah. But then that's what YouTube's for. You just put the clip on. You don't put the whole fucking thing on. But
There you go.
But yeah. So I mean, that's the annoying part for me. I mean, I can't see it happening. But if anybody does disagree with us, please, please, please let us know what we've missed, because fuck me, this was just painful. Yeah, get in touch. Let us know what you think about the film, because I mean, I know there are people who love it. I know there are people who hate it. There are far more people who hate it. But people have a lot of people have seen merit in it. We've seen some merit in parts of it as well. So it's not as if we're going, oh, it's fucking terrible. It's the worst thing ever. But yeah, get in touch.
Definitely not the worst film ever made.
No,
definitely not.
We've done some stinkers on this show, which I think this is possibly on a par with, but certainly wouldn't be worse than.
It's towards the back end of our list in terms of quality, but it's not anywhere near it's not 365 Days, is it?
No, exactly. That was the one that was springing to mind. No, it's better than that. But yeah, get in touch. Let us know what you think on Twitter at ddpodcastnet. You can go to our website, ddpodcast.net, where you can get in touch with us through there. Also find our other shows, including the ones we just mentioned. On Facebook with the Double Down Podcast Network, and on YouTube as well. Wherever you get your podcasts from, be it iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, Amazon Music, Blueberry, TuneIn, there are a couple of others I can't remember. Like, share, subscribe, leave some message, and we'll get in touch. Until next time.
Duck off. I'm sorry. I have to.
Oh, fucking hell.
See you later.